Angelica, straight out of the box. So she's a lot of hair, a lot of hair. I always thin her. I, of course, cut my wispies, which she doesn't have. She's got some about that long. So I thin her. I cut some layers. I cut some bangs. I haven't done that. I haven't done that yet. This is a before picture. Isn't she gorgeous color? This is Noriko Angelica that I cut. I didn't measure it. I'll put up a picture. I cut some off the bottom and then I cut off her layers and I'm getting ready to thin her. So I make the sections just as wide as my, well, those scissors are longer than I normally use, but I make thin sections and I'll come back and do the front part later. And at the top, I even go in all the way into the permatease. I may get brave enough to smooth some of that permatease one day. So I go all the way down to, in that permatease, one click. These are new scissors, so I hope they don't take too much. And I'll make a pile there on the floor. So then I move that to the other side to know I've already done it. So I make only one cut. And then I comb that out. You're going to hear me say it all the time. Make sure your hands are clean when you're working on your wigs. Always clean hands. Make sure your wig is clean. It's just nicer to work on her when she's clean too. This one is new, so of course she doesn't have any products, and I try not to use any products anyway. So right now we're still up at the top. So, you know, I just make thin partings. You can see kind of how thin those are. And yes, when you're down there in the permatease, it takes out some of the permatease. I've done this on several Angelicas, so I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of her. And even though it looks like that's a lot of hair, she starts out at 6.67 ounces. That's a lot of hair for a wig. I'm just dropping that straight on the floor. I weighed her before we started, and I will weigh her again when we're done. So if you wanted to, you could be careful here on the sides. However, I've done her before, so I know that she usually needs it. Well, maybe we won't do those. She almost seems like she didn't have as much permatease as maybe previous Angelicas, but who knows? So yeah, I'm not doing this right at the temples there. So I will pull that up out of my way. And I hope, I'm going to try to do the whole thing on camera. Of course, I'm not sure how much room that takes up in my phone. And then I hope I can figure out how to speed it up. I don't know if I can speed up and still leave my chatting. You might miss chatting with me if I speed it up too much. All right, go ahead and do that little. So when you're close to the wefting areas, you have to be very careful that you're not cutting the wefting, or then you're going to have to get out your needle and thread. And I hate having to sew wigs because all that hair, and I'm going to put a clip over here so we remember where we started. All that hair gets stuck in my needle and thread. Love these clips, alligator clips. You can find them at Walmart or Amazon. You can see what I'm doing. Can you see what I'm doing? Yeah, it looks like you can see what I'm doing. So right here's the crown area. The reason I go all the way to the cap, and I'm going to use a separate clip back here because I don't want to move that one. I go all the way to the cap because I have cut Noriko girls before. And if any of you ever try to cut bangs and you cut those bangs and then they poke straight out, I don't want to thin in this area and then have those hairs poke straight out all the way around. Plus, because she's bulky, I don't want to thin here and still have all this bulk left here. I want all the bulk out, so I'm going all the way to the cap. I suppose if you didn't want to take out as much as this, still kind of go in a uniform manner, but maybe make your sections, see, thicker like that, make it thicker. I'm not going to because I know how I want her. But if you made them thicker and then she was too thick, it's kind of like, well, then how do you figure out where to pick up, I don't know. Some people say you need to have the teeth side going one direction and the flat side going the other direction. I don't pay attention. I just hold my scissors the way I hold my scissors. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong. Maybe somebody can jump in and answer that for us. All right, now can you start to see we're getting in the wefting there? See, that's the wefting, those little tiny, whatever they are, those little tiny pieces of fabric with hair on them. That is the wefting. And so if you cut that, they're still stitched here and here. I've seen some people cut that here and here to try to thin that out, but I think that would leave a big hole. So I don't do that. But anyway, if you cut too close and you cut that, you need to go back in and either cut it out or restitch it. But I would also, I mean, if it's a wig that you've never, I mean, you don't have to thin every single wig all the way from this edge all the way to the other edge. I just know that this particular one needs it because of the ones that I've done and worn in the past. What else was I saying? I don't remember. Oh, you could thin just the bangs, and I've got one lined up over here. We will do that too. So see, I'm probably picking up, that's 3 wefts. I'll probably only pick up 2 wefts. Something I would never do though, just a minute, let me pick that up. I can't talk and concentrate on the same time. I would never cut and then comb through with this because these teeth are still sharp and I don't want to comb through with the scissors. I feel like that would make one of those curly ribbons. Just my opinion. I've never tried it. Not going to. Okay, so now she's getting to where she's not as thick and bulky down here. So now I'm picking up maybe 3 wefts at a time. I don't really count. I just kind of pull up what feels right in my fingers. I like to comb everything out because after we're all done with this, I will give her, she's brand new, so she has not had a cold bath or anything. So after I'm all done with this, I will give her a cold bath and hang her upside down to dry. Scrunch all those curls that I just layered in there. Hope you can see better than I can. I can't see very well. I'm on a north window, but it is October, so I don't have the kind of sunlight we usually have. And even though it's October, some of our trees still have leaves on them. So yes, after I'm all done, I will comb her out really, really good. Again, even though I've combed out each section, I will comb it out really, really good before I put her in a cold bath. You don't want that synthetic hair going down the drain. I'm not sure if it, would ever disintegrate. Probably not. So again, we're just under the crown area where it starts getting into her wefting again. I'm not, like I said, I'm not really being particular how much I pick up. I'm just trying to make sure that I can see, so I'm not accidentally cutting anything in there. Now, if you cut this, see that strap there? That's that strap that goes up and down. You don't want to cut those at all, because then you really need to go in and repair them. They kind of hold everything together. You also don't want to go in all the way to the back here. Now these scissors look like they're okay, but you don't want to go all the way into the back like that. That can cut out a whole chunk right there. Not that it's happened. Now see, I felt a weft there. Not that it's happened to me, but my sister did that. I don't know if I could ever find a picture, but she ended up with a lot of little short chunks because she cut all the way back here. If I cut something, it stopped before it went all the way through, so I don't see anything hanging loose. I'm getting quite a pile going on down here, and we're not even halfway around yet. We, as if you all are helping. I guess you are. It gives me somebody to talk to. This was hard getting used to talking to thin air. And then after I'm done with everything, because of the way I chopped her off, this was hard getting used to talking to thin air. See, and I can feel that that's a little thicker down here in the nape area. But even when I had bio hair, I liked to thin mine so I could see through it. I like it to move and fly around in the wind. I think you've seen me post pictures where it's always flying around in the wind. Also, having the nape area a little thinner helps cut down on some of the tangling. Now, if I got that section a little wider than my scissors are, I just kind of clump it together, get in there close. She's probably going to be kind of choppy at the bottom. I did not go in and do point cut, but when I'm all done with the texturizing, then I will go back in and decide if I want to point cut on the bottom. I didn't do it in the beginning because why do that if I'm going to be cutting off all this hair? And so far, on my other Angelicas, I don't think I've ever needed to do it. Remind me, and maybe when I'm halfway-ish, I've got a table leg here, we're tangling. Maybe when I'm halfway, well, I'm almost halfway. We'll go one more section, and then I will show you one side with the other side. So yeah, these sections might be kind of narrow, and yes, this might be kind of time consuming, but it's kind of like I say on the other things. If you take your time and you do it, this is the only time you have to do it. she can last you for years and years and years. I have Noriko girls that are 8 years old. Of course, the ones that are 8 years old are all Jacksons, and I have never thinned a Jackson. But you do it once, you do it right, and you don't have to do it again. So now rather than flipping it over to this side as I'm cutting, I'm kind of flipping it over the section we've already cut. This is still the crown area. There's still that permatease right there. Almost need my cheater glasses to see what we're doing here. This is pinned on the styrofoam head. Never pin through your lace or monotops features, which she has none. So she is pinned 1 pin in each ear tab and 2 pins on each side of the nape. Some wigs are not real thick right here under the crown because they're thick on the top. So that top flops over that. So some wigs are thinner right here. I've seen that especially on some Ellen Villa wigs that are way thin right there. But again, I'm just making 1 clip every section just because that's what I do. But you don't have to if she felt real thin there. But I don't have, so maybe I just take, see, what have I got there? I've got 3 or 4 wefts in my hand there to make it as thick as I want it. I don't have a kind of memory to remember where I didn't do it if I had to come back. Okay, here's where I would admit that because I don't have any memory, I was thinning an Aesthetica Sutton. I must have had her all finished because then I got interrupted by a phone call. And I did not even remember that I did it. Must have been quite the phone call. I went back, sectioned her off, and thinned her all over again. And then when I got finished, she's looking pretty sparse. So she is a very good hat hair on days that I need to go for a walk and I don't want to get hot. But that just reminds me, I don't know, write a note or something. So this one's a little wide, so I'm going to take a snip here and then cut in and do a snip there because it was too wide and I didn't want to get it caught in the back of the scissors there. But yeah, I learned, we all learn by our mistakes, don't we? Now see these hairs here, these little short hairs, and I've explained this before in other thinning videos. Those are not what I'm cutting. Those are support hairs that are already built into the wig to give it support and volume. I keep, see if I'm putting the comb in there and I get stuck, that's because I'm hitting that piece of elastic. But see those little ends? They're already built there. And when I'm cutting, so I'm cutting shorter than those actually are. So sometimes if they're there and they're in the line of fire, they will get cut also. So, and if when in doubt, I always call it pull the skirts up. Pull her skirts up and take a look underneath. Look and see what she's made of. So see, even though that section is about the same size as my scissors, I don't want to cut it all in one piece because I don't want to get back there in the corner of the scissors. We will weigh this one again, and I'll put a picture up. So even though it seems like a lot of hair, I mean, if you still had a wig that weighs 5.6 ounces, that's still a lot of hair. See, we're going, see these little short hairs? We're going in shorter than those hairs are. Really get in there so you can see where you're cutting, so you don't cut something that you don't want to cut. I'm even gonna take, I'm gonna pull that one up and do that one again, because I like these Nape hairs a little bit thinner, because again, cuts down on the tangling, and if I want them to fall out of an updo, maybe. If I want to put her in a ponytail and a hat, then I've got, what? Little thinny. Wispies. Okay. Let's see if you can even tell. Okay. See how nice and light that moves? Now her layers, they need to be scrunched up so that she'll get her curl back. How are we going to remember where we're at? Let's put this here so we remember where we stopped. But see how heavy? She just kind of clumps. Okay, see how she just kind of clumps? Ooh, she's gonna be cute. All right, gotta pick this up before I forget what I'm doing. And I know you would totally panic if you saw that much hair on the floor. Can you see that? Let's see if I get you back in the same place there. Thank God the video is still going. I wasn't sure I even turned it on. I could probably stop there. You kind of get the idea of what I'm doing, and then I'll turn it back on when I get done. Okay, we are back. This is still Angelica Noriko in Raspberry Ice. I've thinned all the way from here, all the way around from to here. I did leave out a few in the temple areas that I did not thin. But if you have trouble, like you want to do ear tucks and it's too thick to do an ear tuck, sometimes that area needs thinned because of that. Her bangs don't seem overly heavy, but I know that I like them thinner. If I were doing this for somebody else, or if I were doing it on a new wig, I wouldn't go in and do all this like I just did. And see those pieces sticking up there? That's just her permatease, etc., because she's brand new. Anyway, I know that I want to thin this. This is also, I'm saying, this is the way I do it if I have face floppers. Also, if you had a piece that you didn't like certain highlight colors, I had a friend that had one in, what was it? Pearl Blonde Rooted by Ellen Villa. And she loved the light colors, but she did not care for the honey colored highlights. And we're going to divide this in half because it's too wide. Gentian Violet, you know what? I've been pronouncing that wrong for years. Gentian Violet will not tone something that's darker, so it would not tone the honey-colored strands. So I couldn't thin them all the way out because she had one of that kind of a thin section back here. But I did thin the honey colored strands that were around the face so that the hair around the face was much brighter. Or if you had strands that you didn't like the color, but you didn't want to thin her, you can also use the markers to color them. But again, be cautious with that because I don't know how or if those markers come out. I know they fade a little bit into the water, but they've never faded enough for me that I've had to redo them. See how that makes that lighter and wispier? Ooh! See? See? Compared to this side. Always try and catch that strand or pay attention where it falls so that you can pull it back out of the way and not do it twice. Oh, that's what I was going to say. You know, I wasn't afraid when I did that girl twice, my Sutton, because I actually bought 2 pieces from a friend of mine, and she had thinned the living daylights out of both of them. And okay, so she did it to the point of alopecia. Natalie, I won't say your name here. But I loved them. I loved their density. And so once I had them in my hand, I loved them. And it's like, and I still have both of those girls. One was Jean Renault Heidi, and the other was Jean Renault Giselle. And I also learned from her. Put it on a mannequin head to do the thinning so you can see what you're doing. That's where she had kind of her spots that she had, I think she told me, correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, I think she told me, there went that comb, that she thinned while it was on her head. My goodness, that would scare me. I would think I would cut a hole. Okay. She is done. She's going to go get a cold bath and hang upside down overnight. Because this girl wants to go to Walmart tomorrow. Oh, you probably can't see that. Can you see the pile we did on the floor? I'll let you know what she looks like when she's done. Can you see the pile on the floor? Yes, you can. All right, I will pick all that. I will weigh her, and I will pick all that up and weigh it with the haircut. Love you. This is Noriko Angelica in Raspberry Ice. I tell you what, I had to go in and cut more bangs. I couldn't even get my smile on without my bangs, and I had to rough her up a little bit. All I used was backcombing because, you know, I don't like products in my hair. Anyway, she's gorgeous. I don't know if she's not sitting too high.